We're going even further into the Flora fire arson case. I'm going to be showing you parts of the fire report, the response time, and some actual video. And if this doesn't make you angry, then honey, nothing ever will. Well, hello, my silky friends. Yeah, I'm just going to tell you, I'm already worked up because I've been reading this stuff over again. So let's get into Flora. Now, let me just say this. I immediately lost a couple of subscribers from my last Flora video, which, I started off by saying, is this because they are not white? Let me say right from the get-go, I do not believe that this is a racially motivated crime. I really don't. However, the coverage of it, or the lack thereof, to me, could possibly be a racial thing. But let's start with this fire report by a group. I believe it's called Exponent. And I'm going to let you look at this here. This is from a lawsuit that Gaylin Rose has against Birch Tree Holdings. So, of course, they did their own fire investigation, looked at depositions and testimonies of the different players in there. So the timeline comes from that, also from cell phone timestamps, and it's just very disturbing. So here we can see who is, asking for this report. Is the name of the document. If you wanted to look that up, this was filed, as you see, on April 13th of 2022. Okay, so this fire report is 58 pages long. I am not going to read it to you, and I learned more about fires than I ever wanted to know. But here are a few things we need to take note of. Now, this structure was built somewhere between 1930 and 1950, so it was an older property. It had been turned into a duplex, and you will see where I have highlighted that it had an exterior stairway, which we saw in the last video, and here it says there was also an interior, for which I'm very glad, because I kept thinking so you had to access it only by the outside, but no. It does say that there was a stairway inside the home as well. But this was interesting. It had asbestos on the outside of it, which, look, a lot of houses had those in the 50s when people didn't know. So imagine this burning. I mean, I'm just saying. Okay, at the time of the fire, there were people in both rental units. On the upstairs unit, Courtney Dons and her fiance, Anthony Gray, were sleeping. They heard the smoke alarm, but because they slept in the living room, they were able to get out fairly quickly. Courtney said when she woke up, her eyes were burning and she started choking. And once she got outside, she observed that the smoke was pouring out of the house. Next door were Adam and Elizabeth Ayers, relatives of Josh Ayers, part of Birch Tree Holdings, who was the actual owner of the house. Now, up in here is where I get a little bit ill. At the time of the fire, Elizabeth said that she was awoken earlier at 2:45 a.m. and she was laying in bed trying to go back to sleep. From the front door, they could see smoke and Ms. Rose out on the front sidewalk screaming for help. They found her covered in soot, distraught, and frantically requesting help to save her children from the upstairs bedroom. Ms. Ayers reported the fire to the property owner and 911. And we're going to address this in just a minute, but keep watching. Okay, so the emergency responders were toned out for a fully involved house fire at 3:35 a.m. The first emergency responders to arrive were police officers who were also volunteer firefighters. The first arriving responder was Officer Dissinger of the Flora Police Department. So basically what it's going to talk about is Adam Ayers also ran in and was trying to save the children, but those two officers ran in the house first thing. But now remember, they were not dressed out in, with air packs and all that kind of stuff. So when they went in, they quickly found that they couldn't get very far. When Officer Yoder got there, he recalled smoke just rolling from the house on his arrival. Then Deputy Yoder recalled breaking out an east bay window on the front porch, and Dissinger punched out 2 windows on either side of the front door. So this is kind of confusing to me. Officer Dissinger says he's going up the outside stairwell, and he gets up there to the landing and he sees a woman saying, "I've already gotten the kids out." I'm assuming that this is Courtney and she's talking about her kids, but he goes back down. So I don't know what happened in that moment of confusion. It wasn't Gaylin up there because she clearly didn't have her kids out. So this is a little murky to me. But maybe I'm just misunderstanding the situation. At approximately 4.75 minutes after the initial 911 call connected, Deputy Yoder departed for the Flora Fire Department as Flora Fire Chief Adam Randall arrived at the site. Okay, so what you'll see in the dash cam, if you watch the full video, is Yoder goes into the house and he can't get the children out, so he gets back in his car and he goes to the Flora Fire Department, who still haven't left the fire station. Now the police officer is there. He's gone in the house, got to the fire station. What the heck? What are you doing? But let's continue. Approximately 2 minutes after having departed the site, or 6.75 minutes after the first 911 caller connected, Deputy Yoder returned to the site along with the first responding fire engine and the Flora Fire Department's equipment and bunker gear. Okay, in the last 6.75 minutes, a police officer has arrived at the house, went into the house, decided he can't save the children, got back in his car, went to the fire department, and came back, and now the fire department is actually there. Now let me say this, when you watch that whole dash cam video, you will see exactly how close the Flora Fire Department was to that danged house. As firefighter training will tell you, you only have 4 minutes to save a person before they pass away from asphyxiation, okay? So now it's been almost 7 minutes before you got there. I don't get it. Okay, now let's look at this one thing. Reddit says firefighter Jeremy Hayes also reported breaking out a window on the front porch later in response, and then observed that the front room immediately caught fire but was quickly controlled by water application. Well, yeah, that's why you bring the fire truck. Fire suppression application began approximately 12.25 minutes after the initial 911 call. Wow. I'm telling you, when you see the video, you are going to be livid. But by this time, the children had all passed away. They did try CPR, but nothing. They were already gone. Officers Yoder and Dissinger also received injuries, as did Gaylin Rose. They were all transported to the hospital. Okay, so now I'm going to show you some video from Fox 59 of the dash cam of Drew Yoder. I could have done this straight from 59, but I wanted to show you some clips from Crime Night, who goes through this whole video. I will leave a link below to his video. He does such a great job, and I wanted you to hear his commentary because it is absolutely fantastic, and you really have to see the whole video to understand the whole thing. So let's hear what he has to say.
Still no fire on the front. Now let's watch these 2 firemen. Remind yourselves, they're still not entered the property. They've not gone in. You're going to start hearing Gaylin Rose crying again, shouting. So there's the first fireman. There's a fireman. This is where I believe this dude has thrown something inside the house. He's gone in vaguely and he's come straight out again. I believe this guy has thrown something in there, something to make the fire begin here on this part of the house. There's no reason for him to come out immediately at all because there's no fire. There's smoke, but there's no fire. So pay attention. There he goes in, he crawls in, and then he crawls straight out again. Crawls and he stands up. This fireman will smash out this window over here. And as soon as he does that, and there's a fire over here, you watch how this thing just engulfs in flames. Pay attention, I'll show you. Still no rescue recovery, still nothing. Absolutely nothing. Now you're going to start noticing there's going to be a flame that's going to start over here soon enough. Now, it's important to notice, whilst I'm here, I want you to pay attention to this individual, how he's going to smash out this window. Because by doing so, you watch how this fire completely engulfs the house, because all of a sudden there's more oxygen flowing through that property. They waited a little bit. I'll explain it to you as we go along. They're still looking. Still haven't gone in. They're paying attention at what's happening. Still haven't gone in. Now, right there. You need to hear he's smashing the windows. I want you to pay attention. He's smashing this window over here. Listen, you can hear him crack the windows. There. Now you watch, pay attention to this fire. Watch. Did you see this? Immediately, as soon as this oxygen began breathing into that house, watch how this fire began from the back and it just walks itself forward. Pay attention. And there's still no hoses being put on the fire. Absolutely nothing. They still haven't opened their hoses. The fire's just completely taken off. And they're still there. They're still not watering the place. Nothing. Now look, it's now out through the front window that was smashed in by this fireman over here. He smashed it in. Now the fire is out of that window because the oxygen is there. So their actions here are erroneous. They should have had already the hoses on this property. And the reason why they didn't do it is because they wanted this property condemned. They wanted this property to burn to a degree that they could go and claim insurance money on this property. What they didn't expect was for this thing to get completely out of hand where those 4 little girls died. Let's continue. Now look how this fire is raging out of control. Now pay attention to this fireman. He should have put his hose on there already, and yet he's not. Now look at his actions. Look, he's watching the fire burn. You watch, soon enough, you'll be watching on the front here, in between the fire and the fireman. You can watch a little spray of water, meaning that he's in fact turned his nozzle, he's opened his nozzle, and he now begins spraying the fire. And I want you to pay attention also at how soon the fire is extinguished. It's about 4 or 5 seconds that this fire was extinguished. Pay attention, folks. I'll show you. He still has there. Right there, he's opened the hose. Now there, you can see the hose stretch. And you can hear it. Right there, he begins watering the fire. That's at the juncture where this fireman begins watering the fire, having waited for the fire to burn a little bit more. Now he's spraying the fire. But why did he have to wait so long? Why wait so long, folks? A good minute had gone by. Look how soon this fire was extinguished, folks. Front and back.
Okay, are you as flabbergasted by this whole thing as I am? My mind can't even conceive of firemen standing on the porch waiting for the fire to get bigger. Even back up before that, when you watch the whole thing, when Officer Yoder first gets there, you see a window or some kind of opening. You see a live flame there under the stairwell on the exterior. So why didn't the fire truck immediately go to the spot of the fire that was like in the kitchen, dining room to that exterior door? Why go to the front porch when the fire is in the middle of a house? It makes no sense. But yet you're going to stand out on the porch forever, wait till it really catches on fire. Did they add accelerants? I don't know. But whether that happened or not, you cannot deny the fact that those firemen were on the front porch for minutes. And then they break out the window, and of course it ignites the fire even more, and still no hose. If you had to break the window there for whatever reason, you should have immediately started with the hose. But no, they just let it burn. To me, they are as much to blame for the unaliving of those children as the person that set the fire. But that's just my opinion. Now, do you see why this case makes me so angry? But let's go look at the timeline, okay? Because if you're not mad now, then you're really gonna be. Okay, let's look at this. At some point in the morning, we don't have an exact time, Gaylin Rose was awakened by the presence of smoke in her house. Now, if you'll remember, Elizabeth Ayres' testimony is that she woke up to, hearing Gaylin on the street saying smoke pouring out and Gaylin screaming for her children, and it's obvious the house is on fire. And I think I said Josh in my last video. Elizabeth is the one that called 911. But let's look at the timing. At 3:28 a.m., Josh is notified by Elizabeth. They think it says cell phone timestamp. And she tells him, quote, "Your house is on fire." But it is not until 3:34 that she is the first one to call 911 to report the house fire next door. 6 minutes later, 3:28, she calls Josh, waits for 6 more minutes to call 911. Now, did she think somebody else called or something? I don't know. During that time, during that initial 911 call, also Courtney Dawn's calls somewhere in the middle of that, and there's a timestamp for that. Here's my question. Now, if I see my neighbor's house is on fire, I'm awake, I see someone screaming about their children in the street, and I can see fire, smoke pouring out of the house, isn't my initial response going to be to call 911? If you come upon an accident, the first thing that you do is call 911, right? That is what any reasonable person does in an emergency. You call emergency first, not the home owner. I mean, what? Does Josh keep a fire truck in his pocket that he's just going to magically drop on the street? Is that why you called him first? And 6 minutes later called 911? Let me tell you something. At 6 minutes, it far surpasses that 4-minute mark where people can live through a fire. Doesn't it? Oh, but by all means, let's just call the homeowner because, he can work miracles. Maybe he's just going to walk in on water. That would be helpful, wouldn't it? I'm sorry, I'm mad. I am so mad about this case. So, the fire department, and, like I said, if you watch the full video by Crime Night, you will see how long it took the fire department to go a few blocks to put out a fire. Some days I'm glad I live in Alabama. I am just about at the point where I can't talk about this anymore. So we're going to look at one more thing. Now, if you will look at this, at 3:41, the Flora Monroe Township Fire Department arrived. And that is 6 minutes after the 911 call. Yes, I know that takes them, a few seconds, whatever, a minute to get down the pole and into the fire engine. Everything else should have been together because that's what you do. You fight fires. So to me, it was a longer response time, especially as an officer can get there and back before you get there. So at the end of the day, watching the whole video, looking at the timeline, it is quite apparent that they did not want to put out this fire until it had burned to a large degree. There's insurance money, which was collected. Even though it was arson, I'm not even going to get into the arson report right now, but it has been declared arson several times over. Starting, they believe, at the door that was under the stairwell, which I believe it was Officer Randall said was open. He expected it to be closed and locked. It was not. It was standing open. So that would suggest to me that somebody had a key. Wonder who all had a key to that residence. I'm going to stop talking because I'm upset. I believe this was a clear-cut case of arson for insurance money based not just on the response time, but on some other factors. And we will delve into arson and firefighters and Indiana. We're going to look at a lot of different reports on this. But for today, I'm going to end it and calm down. We will continue talking about Flora. Hope you have a great week, and I will see you next time. In the meantime, stay silky.